Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and back to working on the old John Deere B. Right now I'm actually waiting for parts to come in over there on the 4840, so figure, well, I'll work here on my old B for a little bit. And of course, if you've been following my channel for a while now, it was probably at the end of 2022, if I remember right, when I started on this project. So that's when my videos on this would have started. I don't even know what part video this is. I'll have to go back and look myself. But and so yeah, if you kind of want to see the parts of this, just have to scroll back to December of 2022, and then off and on throughout this year. But I finally got my alternator put on this thing, switching over to 12 volt. And I revamped the old mount down here. That's the old mount where that held the 6-volt generator. I actually chopped it down, and I'm using one hole of it. And I've got to get a longer bolt. I thought I had a 3.5 inch 3/8 bolt, but I don't, surprisingly. And Napa is actually working on getting me a belt for this thing, because it still had the original belt on the thing, or at least it sure did look original. But right here is where the mount was for the generator, and so I actually pushed it clear out here up against this frame rail. And so we'll see how well that works. Right now I'm actually working on wiring. Of course, single wire alternator. This wire right here came up to the amp meter right there. Of course, that's all 6 volt. So I just took and chopped that off. This wire goes to the starter, and of course the battery cable. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take and add to this, and come from here down. I'll go in behind this frame, come down, and hook directly onto the alternator. And then the only wire besides that will be coming off the starter. I was going to see if I might be able to use one of these old switches right here, but they're so cruded up I can't even use them, so I'm just going to take one out. And I'll just put a toggle switch in right there, simply on and off. Come on, there we go. And that'll be for the coil, to simply turn the coil on and off, because that's how I set my WD-45 up. Just the wire running on the coil. So I've already got that stripped right there on that wire. And I've got this 12 gauge wire that I'm going to take and connect right here, and then we'll jump on down to the alternator. I'm going to take one of these butt connectors, pop it in there like that, crimp him down. Okay, that's got hung on there. Some people don't like using these. I've never really had that much trouble with them myself, but something you can do to make them a little more watertight. Well, you can take tape and wrap around them, but I like using that liquid electrical tape. Take and just paint that right around each end of it. Seals up good and tight and works good. So, okay, I got this 12 gauge here. Get the end of it stripped off. There we go. Okay, let's get it pinched down. Now we're ready we'll get on up here and extend on up to the alternator and be ready to tie in back here on the back of it. I'm going to take and run this wire behind these spark plug wires, and I actually have new spark plug wiring. I'll be redoing that as well. At least with 2 plug wires, you don't have to worry too much about getting things mixed up, as long as everything stays on the coil head as it should. Well, the distributor cap as it should. So I'm going to take and run this down behind that frame there, along beside the block, the head, and I'll get you turned around here. There you can see. Well, maybe if I sit you down here. Hey, there we go. And then we'll just run right through here. Okay, and looks like that's about how long I need it, right there. Then, like I say, I'll take and tuck it in behind there. That we can't get caught on anything. All right, now we're ready to take and pop that. Like I say, this here is actually 12 gauge wiring. I'm pretty sure. Let's double check. Huh. Okay, yeah, right there it is. Not too sure how you can see it right there. Number 12. All right. Now for running the wiring up to the coil, well, from the starter up to the toggle switch, and then from the toggle switch to the coil, I only run 14 gauge on that. But for the charging wire, I do like having a little bit heavier wiring, and so I run 12 on that. Well, on this. Of course, lots of other things. I've got 6, 8, and even 8 and 10. So, but all right, I'm gonna get me a little ring connector to hook on that, and then I'll have that part hooked up. There's my little ring connector. Try and get you a turn where you can halfway see anyway. Take and we'll get the old insulation stripped off this. Get it hooked on. There we go. In fact, I actually just talked to Napa Auto Parts, and they stopped by and they picked up a starter for me, and I also sent the little belt that came off the fan, came down and drove the alternator on this thing. Well, it was the old 6-volt generator, and they said they shouldn't have any trouble matching it. It looked to be actually the original belt, but let's see here. I'll finger tighten that for now. That way I can take and pop back off if I want to. Yeah, there we go. And like I said, I've got to get me a longer bolt, and that'll work. Okay, that's got that hooking in. In fact, I may actually take and bury that can in behind the spark plug. But yeah, I can hang down behind there and they'll be out of the way. That'll work just fine. The old wiring snaked up underneath and went between the gas tank and the top of the gas tank and the hood. And so, forget that. No sense overly complicating things, but hey, like I said before, leave it to a John Deere engineer to literally figure out the hardest way possible to do something and then pick it. I've even seen some things on our John Deere tractors, on our 4840s, and also on our 4955. It's like, why in the world would you do it that way? But anyway, that's just me. Okay, here's the plug wires. Okay, I just went ahead and I marked on the distributor cap left and right. So let me get my wire cutters. definitely time for a replacement, I can tell you that right now. Huh. That's shot. In fact, actually, what I may do is run and grab some Gorilla Tape. We can take and tape that together and see if I can pull the new one through as I pull the old one out. Okay, let's see what we can do here. This Gorilla Tape. Right, but if I can get that to go in friend. Yeah, there we go. And wrap him around. Hopefully it'll hold. I'm just not sure. Well, now it's so thick. I don't know if it's going to want to make that 90-degree turn without pulling apart. Well, I never know without trying. Don't exactly look too encouraging, I can tell you that right now. Nope, not going to work. Well, good idea while it lasted. Okay, there's the old one. I'm going to jerk that one out. That Gorilla Tape is tough stuff. Puts duct tape to shame, I can tell you that right now. Alrighty, come on. Well, not quite as bad as what I would have thought. Okay, it should come out the bottom of that tube. There we go. Alright, now I gotta do the other side the same way. Okay, there's the new plug wires hanging out of that thing. I'm going to take and snake that back down underneath that little drive shaft. This here's actually the drive shaft. Will come right beside the water jacket, or top water pipe, whatever you want to call it, here coming off the block. This here's what goes up and drives the fan. And so put that back underneath there like that. I forgot it's got that U-bolt. Okay, yeah, the U-bolt is what connect. Yep. Got parts and pieces bouncing everywhere. That goes under, then the U-bolt goes over top that little drive shaft. Now I'm going to hold up on putting the spark plugs in the thing, and main reason why is that way I can take and actually turn the motor over by hand, because I may need to move the flywheel over there for when I'm running my wiring up from the starter to the coil, because it's got holes in the side of the flywheel in case I need to access them. I can take and spin it. So I'm going to hold up on putting the plugs in at this point. All right, get you up here a little bit closer. That goes right down through there like that. Ties in, then that ties the plugs down. Now I've got to find, oh, there it is. A 1/4-inch jam that goes on there. Tighten him up, and that's got it. Okay, let's get that side started. That kind of goes toward the back there just a little bit. Now I think we're ready to start tightening. Definitely not much room to work with underneath there, I can tell you that right now. Okay, there we go. I would go ahead and put the gas tank and hood back on, but thing is that's going to block my access. Well, I won't be able to access it quite as easy to get back up in here and rig up my toggle switch for the coil. Okay, I took the distributor cap off. Right there's the points. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the points actually look good. They're good and clean. And so I'm not even going to change them. Right there's the rotor. The rotor looks good too. And the distributor cap, actually, I could not find another distributor cap for this thing. It is a Delco, but not very often you find a just a 3-hole distributor cap. Most of the time they got 6 or 8 or 4, I guess, also, depending on how big a motor you're working with. But yeah, even the contacts inside look good. All gold colored, so that's what you want. And we'll put the cap back in. There's a little shine up there on the old rotor. Don't look too bad though. In fact, if I remember right, because I usually get a lot of stuff right through Napa because they just drop right off to me. And they actually had trouble finding some of these things. Of course, some of these old tractor specialty stuff you may have to go through like a Steiner or something like that. But yeah, looks good. Nice and shiny. Perfect. Put him back on there. There we go. Okay, I'm just taking a little bit of sandpaper and going in there, shining up the contact, well, just the 2 contacts here inside the distributor. Other than that though, they look good. So, got that one. I'll go ahead and hit that right there a little bit more. Okay, that's got that. I'll put him back on. And like I say, I marked it, so right there's right. So the bottom's left. At least just having two plugs, you don't have to get much confusion. Just left and right. Now if I can get that to line up, there we go. Okay, that's got it. Okay, here is left. Now, okay, there's the ends for the piece. Put this little boot on. There's that little boot on the plug wire. Kind of take and shove him back just a little bit. Okay, and right there's a little part you pinch on. It's got like a little prick deal that sits right there in the middle, and it sticks right into the middle of the wire where the contact part is. So you just take and put that little point right into the wire itself, and then pinch it together. I usually take a pair of pliers and kind of pinch it down. That helps set it in there better. Okay, this is, let's see here, this is the right hand one, so it goes up here on top. And that wire ain't none too long either. Well, for one thing, I've got too much stuck out down below. Let's see if we can take and walk some of that back up now, that tube. I thought. There we go. Okay, that's much better down below. I had too much stuck out down below. I had Napa send me 4 feet, 2 per side. Okay, that's got that. And we still got plenty of excess down there. Okay, that's got that one plugged in, the right hand side. Now we got to do the same exact thing for the left hand one. And same thing. Got that little boot that goes back on there. Put your end on. Crimp it down. Okay, and plug him in. Okay, that's got the, get you picked up here. That's got all the new plug wires put in. Little tubes tightened back down. Like I say, I can't put the hood and gas tank on until I get me a new toggle switch. And so I want to get me a new toggle switch. And like I say, that'll come from the starter up to the switch, then from the switch to the coil, and then another jumper wire, well, then a grounding wire going from the coil down here to the rotor. And that'll have that part ready to roll. Well, I've been to town, got me a new toggle switch. Getting this little lock nut off there. Well, obviously they put that knob on after they shoved the switch through that hole. So, well, I can take care of that problem. Okay, this should do the trick. There, problem solved. Just grabbed the bolt cutters and it popped off. Like I say, I set my Alice Chalmers WD up this way also, and it works perfect. In fact, my WD and then my cousin that I got my WD from, he had an Alice Chalmers WD 45. And so I worked it over, did the same exact thing. And yeah, it's worked good that way. Okay, there's my new switch. And let's see here. It's got a little tab deal for on and off, naturally. Huh. That little tab's actually reversible. I guess it leaves you guessing. Okay. Uh-oh. Huh. Well, the threads don't fit through there. Yeah, it looks like I have to get the old drill out and do a little boring on that. It's not going to take much. In fact, I actually have a reamer. I mean, maybe it'll take and ream that out. We'll see. Okay, let's see if this will work. It's not going to take much to get that switch head through there. Maybe I should have tried the middle knob. Oh well, too late now. Well, I can kind of tell that's boring it out. Now let's see if the switch will go through. Getting closer. Okay, I hear Dad just pulled in with the semi. Well, now we got that reamed out again. Let's try it again. Hey, there we go. Now that's more like it. Get the little lock deal. Well, take that back. I want to make sure I've got it in the right. Oh, there I've got it upside down. I definitely want it where it's on and off, just like a regular switch. If I turn this little tab over, there's on. However, I need to know that it is that way, so I better go get my voltmeter and check it. Okay, I got my continuity checker. Okay, well that is correct. Up's on, down's off. Perfect. And sounds like I need to put a new 9-volt battery here in my tester. The beeper sounds a little weak. Okay, that's got that little piece on. We'll get this one here spun in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run the wire from the starter up to this. Okay, yeah, we're not tight. And then I'll go ahead and run a little short jumper wire out from the switch to the coil. However, I've got to try and find a better spot to actually mount the coil, because the people I got the thing from, they just had the coil literally just hung on the side of the hood. Well, I don't really want that. Okay, that should work. On, off. I'll send the juice to the coil, and that should have it. All right, let me get you down off this steering wheel mount. There we are on the back side. No big deal, just general switch. But to get the coil, I've got to go down in there behind the flywheel to the starter, hook up, bring the wire up. I'll just run a 14 gauge wire for that. I got to take this plate out, that way I can run the wire out along with this white here. Bring him up, hook it on the bottom, hook it onto the bottom lug right there. And like I say, I'll bring a wire a long enough pigtail out. But like I say, they literally just had the coil just hanging out here on the side. I don't want that, so I'm going to try and revamp all that. But I did get some longer bolts. I only need one, but I went ahead and grabbed a few extra. So I've got to get my alternator hooked up now. Okay, there's the bolt underneath. 3.5 inch, worked perfect. I can get you set up halfway decent there. Maybe at least you can see. Now the bracket for going over top for the tensioner, I can't really do much as far as making that until I get the belt, because I'm not exactly sure how far out it's going to come on the tilt. But minor details. Okay, I just gotta grab a wrench and tighten that down. Well, snug it up at least anyway a little bit. Alright, just got that bolt tightened up underneath there. It actually all holds from that front tab, and I would not recommend doing that for a big tractor. But hey, for this little old putt, it works perfect. Like I say, I'm going to have to, right there is the original hole. Getting a little chair out of the way. But that's going to be down too low, so I probably had to drill a hole up here. And then here's the original tensioner. I'm just going to have to take and make an addition or an extension to make that work right. But we'll wait and see what happens once I get my new belt. So now I'm going to grab my creeper and some 14 gauge wire, and we'll jump down up underneath here and see what things look like. I'm underneath here on my creeper. Right there's the starter. Of course, right there's the bottom of the flywheel. And I'm trying to get, you probably can't really see it on camera. Trying to get that piece of 14 gauge wire run down through there. I can see it way up in there if I can get my light just right. Man, yeah, you can kind of. That little red wire, that's it. Then I grab a screwdriver and see if I can get that duck. It's kind of jumped over on top of the starter. I can't get to want to wrap around. I won't have to take and get a screwdriver and get that pulled back down. Finally got this wire pulled down out of there. Like I say, that goes up. I've got a following the battery cable out. There's a access hole going right through here in the side of the frame, right through where that battery cable goes through at. That's where I got the wire. And so it's going to take and hook on right here at the starter. This white wire, that is the one that goes up, and I got I spliced in an additional red wire that you saw that goes to the alternator. And then of course this here will go up to the battery that is under the seat. Now I just got to get a connector, more like a little ring tongue deal, and hopefully I can find one that's got a big enough loop to go over top that stud bolt be it connect onto that 14 gauge wire. We'll wait and see what I can find. Alright, the problem I'm running into is, of course, this here's a 14 gauge wire. And this stud post here on the starter is a 3/8. Well, the only little ring tongue that I have is yellow. And if you work with wiring a whole lot, they're all color coordinated. And so yellow is for 10 and 12 gauge wire. Blue is for 14 and 16 gauge wire. And red, that one is for, I think, like 18 through 22 gauge wire. And of course, as the numbers go up, the wire size goes down. But the thing is, though, I do not have a blue one of these in 3/8. The biggest I got is 1/4 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'll strip that wire back and then have to take and double it over just to try and make it bigger. That way I can actually take and crimp on the end of it. So, and another problem is trying to hold the camera underneath here and film it. That's easier said than done. Maybe I can put you on my tripod. Oh, I found out if I sit you right there on the floor, that should work out halfway decent. I want to take this stud deal off. Oh, I thought anyway. There we go. I was going to say that thing shouldn't really be too tight on there. Just snug. Okay, that's got that. Now there's my red wire. We'll take and pull enough through that I can take and pull it back up. Now that end right there has gotten into something, gotten pinched. Knock that off. Looks like it shot right toward you. So I'll just come back here a little bit more than normal. Okay, there's the 14 gauge. Let's take and usually what I'll do is I'll cut it at the number of wire that needs and then jump back up one size. That way it's easier to strip the rubber off. There we go. Maybe a little bit more. Like I said, I'm going to take and double that up and then put it into that little ring tongue. Okay, there's the wire. Let's take and just fold him around like that. I'll make it bigger. Now we should be able to take and plug in. Yeah, there we go. Well, I thought. I can't take and turn it. Get it started in there. Now it's almost too big. Okay, there it stuck out that side. So now we can take and crimp it down. Just like that. And that's how you make it work if you don't have the right size. So we'll take and spin this little flat nut off. Add that to that. And up on top I'll pull a little bit of that slack out, that way it's not sitting there flopping around. And that should have it. Take and put the ratchet on, put just a little bit of pull onto it. I mean, all it needs is just snugged, not cranked down to 500 foot-pounds. Okay, we're back good and tight again. So we'll jump back up on top and pull some slack out. Got my coil of wire up on top right here. Get it done wrapped around. Like I say, I'll pull a little bit of that slack up. There we go. And then this white wire here, that's now the alternator wire. So I want to take and kind of run this red wire out along with that. Let's set that back over here and get some of the stuff, all these tools out of the way, because I'll take this little cap piece here off. There we go. That cap piece is, well, it actually gives you access on top of the crank right down in there. There's your crankshaft and your two big pistons rolling around. I'll see if I can spin the flywheel and show you. Yeah, there they go. So yeah, that's what it looks like down on top of your crankcase. So let's see here. We'll take and oh, I may just run this wire, can I, right along through there. I can get the camera turned around, run up underneath this little gauge setup. Okay, that's got the coil part through. And then we'll just take and put it back down along through there like that. And of course, once I put the lid back on, I have it down out of the way. Okay, yeah, that should work like that. With that lid off, I can still smell gas coming up out of that crankcase because the carburetor had flooded and it had dumped all the gas right down into the crankcase. That's the way it was when I got the tractor. So, okay, I think that'll work right there. In fact, right there's a little clip. Can you put that in like that? Okay, now I'll put the cover back on. Got the cover put back on. And now, got this little cover piece here. Try and get that wire routed around. And it may go in like that. Yeah, there we go. Just gotta get the two little bolts. Alright, there's the bottom bolt, and here we go with the top one up on top here. I can get that piece to line up correctly. Now I got the little wire up through here. Let's go ahead and come down through here like that. Now I want about that much wire right there. Rather it be just a bit too long as a too short. Okay, now we got that. I'll go ahead and take and nip this down. Guess I should have grabbed my other pair. This pair here is almost too long. Number 14. There we go. Got one of these little ring hook deals. Over it like that. I loosen up the switch and I flipped it upside down, so it'll go right back around like that, and that'll tie on. That'll tie in. But I had to flip it up like that just so I could tighten the little screw head down. Alright, like that. On top, loosen him up, put the hook through, done deal. Come on, get in there. There we are. I'll just take and flip him back over. And then the little gem on their side, just take and tighten it back down like that. Okay. Like I say, I'm not going to put the jumper from the switch coming out until I get the hood and gas tank on, which is sitting on the ground right over there. But Napa Auto Parts, they did drop off my new belt, and so I'm going to go ahead and throw that on. We'll see how that looks like. Okay, here's my new belt right there. They asked me if it would hurt anything if I had these teeth, and I said nope, not going to hurt a thing. So let's see if we can get that snaked around that fan. It's just a little bit shorter than the old one, and I told him that's actually kind of what I was wanting. So okay, that's got around the third fan blade. Now I gotta get jumped around that fourth one way over there. Probably should have aimed for that one first and then worked my way back. Come on. There we go. Okay. Around the pulley, I can tell you one thing, it definitely grips a whole lot better than what that old one did. Oh, it would help if I grab my wrench and I've got this alternator kind of tightened down, I can't move it. Okay, that's got the thing loosened up. Let's see what happens here. Hey, I think that'll work perfect. Huh. In fact, you know what? Let me try something. If I can get that to hold that, I might even put a top arm on that. I'm going to have to go in from the back over here to get that wrench in there. Let's see what happens. There. You know what? I may just keep it like that. I think that'll work just perfect. I tightened up that bolt down there on the bottom where it pivots. It's not going anywhere. That saves me trying to bore a hole through that hunk of steel right there. Belt's tight. When I squeeze on that, and I can't, I gotta push really hard to get that thing to move. And well, I'm rocking the whole tractor to get that thing to move in. I did get to bump in a little bit by simply giving it a great big huge shove on it. I think I'm gonna do it just like that and leave it alone. Once again, if you're working on a big tractor or on a big motor, don't do it like this. And I wouldn't if it was on one of our bigger tractors. For this little tiny guy, that alternator's not going to be pulling all that hard. There we go. Perfect. That alternator belt's good and tight. That's not going anywhere. Let's just give one more big tug for good measure. There we go. Like I say, I'm rocking the whole entire tractor back and forth and I can't shove that thing in. Perfect. Alright guys, I think I'm going to call this an end to this part of the video. Now I'll show you right quick, like I've already shown you how it's got, I just made that pivot down there on the bottom. Tighten it down good and tight, and that works. That fan belt's good and snug. And so I do wish I could find actually a smaller pulley to go on that alternator. That way it would actually spin faster. Because I hope it actually turns fast enough to actually kick in and begin to charge. We'll find out. But next video on this will probably be rolling it out from underneath this overhang here and getting to work getting the hood and gas tank put on. So take care. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.